Ladies and gentlemen, the 167th edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast is coming your way in just a moment. But first and foremost, a big thanks to our sponsors, as always: PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, and Barrett Pest and Termite Services. Without our sponsors, the Kirby on Sports podcast would not be where it is today. On today's episode, unfortunately, Dan cannot be on with us, but no need to fear. Carlos and his two wrestling belts will be joining us on the podcast, but we will talk about my birthday experience at Fedex Field as the Commanders fell to the Minnesota Vikings, and we'll talk about the Chiefs' overtime win against the Tennessee Titans. And then to wrap up the show, the Hurry Up Offense, brought to you in each and every week by Barrett, Pest, and Termite Services. It's going to be a great show, ladies and gentlemen. It's all coming your way next on the Kirby on Sports podcast.
Yes. What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Booger McFarland's favorite podcast, the Kirby on Sports podcast. I, of course, am not I am not Josh Kirby. I am the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez. And I'm opening the show because I have something very important to do along with my beautiful belts, Sophia and Betty. As Kirby mentioned in the opening of the show, it was his birthday. And as repayment for what he did for mine, I must now sing him happy birthday alone because Dan couldn't make it on the show. But you know what? Just indulge me, okay? Your ears might bleed. It's fine. We'll be okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kirby. Happy birthday to you. And now, the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, Joshua Kirby.
So you text me and you're like, I'm going to repay you. And I was like, so what did I do wrong this time? In singing happy birthday, I'm like, all right. I mean, my ears didn't bleed, but I do appreciate these sentiments. And late birthday gift came out 3 minutes ago, as number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4 have been announced in the college football playoffs. Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and TCU. And why is that so important?
Because number 9.
Yes, Alabama. How about it?
Yeah.
Sorry, Nick Saban. I think the tide's about done, hopefully, but
probably not. They'll be back. It's just one of those seasons.
But I just saw it 3 minutes ago. I thought I would bring that up, that Alabama is number 9. So let's hope. Who knows? Anything can happen. College football is out there, you know. It's a lot different than the NFL, but here we are. We're back another week. Carlos, thanks for being with us again. You can find us on all streaming platforms and all social media platforms, www.kirbyonsports.com. I guess let's just kick off the show. I was at Fedex Field for my birthday, going with a bunch of a mixed group of Commanders and Vikings fans. So that's where I was for my birthday, and the Commanders fell 20-17. I'm not even sure if you watched the game, Carlos. Did you
Oh,
see any of it?
I watched it.
They
Oh, okay.
they done goofed.
I passively watched it. Okay,
They done goofed.
I watched it like I tuned in a little bit, and then I would like kind of like do something else, and then I'd bring my attention back to the game. It was a passive watch.
So I'm just gonna skip to the ending here because uh
Or how about you tell us how the day went?
I'm
Maybe
gonna
focus
start
on the
with the
last thing.
ending because this needs to be said.
Okay,
The
go ahead.
fan base of Washington absolutely sucks because there was a 5 Commander fan drunken fight with 30 seconds left before the clock hit zero and the Minnesota Vikings were declared the winners.
Mhm.
I'm like, just out of curiosity, okay, let's loop around and see how bad this fight is. If you're watching on YouTube, I see one of the guys who instigated the fight, and seriously,
For those listening, Kirby has stood up from his chair and desk and is just wobbling around like a drunk.
well, that's what it was. It was essentially, I was like, oh
Hmm.
gosh. And we sat in a decent section where
It
you
looked
could
like you
see.
guys had decent seats.
Yeah, it was 235, so you have the lower bowl and then the section like immediately above that. So
The
you can
midsection.
easily access the lower bowl, which was pretty nice. It was a good view of the game, a Justin Jefferson fade on the first drive of the game right in my face. So that was pretty nice, but tailgate was fun. We parked in the same red zone lot we did when the Chiefs came to town. Visiting side behind the Vikings bench when they came out, skull, skull, skull. Just like the last time I was there for a Redskins Vikings game back when they were called the Redskins. So
Mhm.
it's usually a tradition between us and our family friends who are Vikings fans. We go and have a great time tailgating. We had birthday cake after because it was my birthday, but I got to see a lot of people, meet a lot of people. London Fletcher, the NFL Iron Man from back in the day, that was cool meeting him. Rick Doc Walker in person, very great. Scott Jackson post game show he does with Fred Smoot. I saw Fred Smoot there, but I mean, how do I put this? Um, there were giveaways. So it wasn't like I left empty handed. It was a scarf, like the it's more like something the soccer teams would do, like
Yeah,
those
yeah, 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 yeah. I know what you're talking
decorative scarves, but
I
like
have one. Yeah, I have
what
one.
yeah. But like Washington is and it says Washington salute since it was the salute to service game and a beanie.
Mhm.
Yeah, with a patch and it says like one mission or something. I mean I took one obviously, but I mean other than that, I mean the experience I think for this game, other than Vikings fans on that visiting side, I felt like it was pretty loud. It was a very loud atmosphere. And
Yeah, but would you say it was loud because on TV it seemed like it was a sea of purple in that stadium. So would you say it was loud because the Vikings fans had basically taken over that stadium,
um
or was I deceived on TV and that there was more Commanders fans than what it seemed?
well, you were probably deceived because the sea of purple was behind the Vikings bench.
Hmm.
But there were a good amount of Vikings fans there. I just think that's any team you see. Heck, I saw 5 Prescott jerseys there, and the Cowboys weren't even
Yeah, but
playing.
they're everywhere. I mean, you'll see it on TikTok. There's people that post that there's why are there Cowboys fans at a Tampa Bay Los Angeles Rams game? We just show up for some reason, and I don't understand why.
I know, but one of my friends, when I posted the picture of me there on Facebook, were like, "We're the Cowboys fans." I'm like, I actually saw 5 Prescott jerseys, if that means anything. But I mean, I just think that's how it is with. I mean, more FedEx Field because fans of the opposing team are known to invade that stadium, but I think that's just a given anywhere
Well,
you
I
go.
think again, when we've talked about this at nauseum, I feel like it's more of just the experience now. Of FedEx Field has consistently been ranked the worst stadium in the NFL year after year. And also, again, a lot of the fan base has felt scorned by ownership,
Yeah.
by the whole name change saga, by all that stuff, by just the lack of competitiveness of this team in the past couple seasons, despite the fact that they made the playoffs, but they made the playoffs as a 7-9 team.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like a lot of the fan base has basically said are taking a stand and saying no more, we can't support this, and I really truly feel that until ownership changes, which it looks like it's finally going that direction. We'll see. Of course, we'll believe it when we see it, right? When we see the sale is final. And I believe that once they finally get like a brand new stadium and kind of become more fan friendly, I guess you could say, I feel like then the fan base will begin to come back. But yeah, I mean, it's just like it's a way, obviously the DMV area is a place where a lot of people from around the country come to for work and whatnot. So you have transplants from everywhere. So whenever their team comes into town, it's their best chance to see them live. So it was the same thing when we went to go see the Chiefs last year against Washington. There was a lot more Chiefs fans there than Washington fans. I mean, when they do the the national anthem and we do the home of the Chiefs, like that was a lot louder than I thought it was going to be. I really didn't think that that was going to actually happen. And when it happened, I was like, whoa, okay. There's a lot more of us here than Commander or at the time Washington football team fans. So yeah, I don't know. We've been knowing what's wrong with the Washington franchise and their
You
fan experience.
you'll get a kick out of this one.
What?
So halftime rolls around and
Mhm.
I'm like, so I wonder what's going on. And obviously, the lower bowl was filled with people getting food and stuff. And what I didn't realize, there was actually an outdoor courtyard behind our section with like
Mhm.
cornhole and stuff. There was a iHeart radio tent there and stuff with Madden set up. So I just was like out there looking around. But before that, the public address announcer said, "Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, our halftime show has been canceled because there were supposed to be paratroopers skydiving out of the sky landing into FedEx Field, but the wind was too high." So,
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you remember, but on top of the scoreboard, the big video board,
Mhm.
there's a standing room only section.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
one of those sections now holds the Washington Commanders' new marching band, which they
Mhm.
were playing in the lower bowl earlier. I mean, they had some good tunes, I'll say, and they were loud, very loud in that concourse. But besides the point, he was like, but for halftime or something along these lines, we give you the Washington Commanders marching band. So that's basically what happened. I was like, oh, okay.
I
So,
mean, at least
anyways,
they figured something out, and it's not like they just left halftime. I mean, a lot of people don't even really pay attention to the halftime show. Let's be honest, unless it's something special like what happened when we went to, the two games that we went to.
oh yeah, absolutely. But I went out to the plaza and I guess I spent a little bit too much time out there because I hear a loud roar from inside the stadium. I'm like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah, the
And
second half
then,
started.
yeah, the second half started, and then I see it on the big screen. It was on a delay. The Curtis Samuel touchdown, which
Mhm.
people are joking about how the ref had 1.5 on Curtis or something like that. But if you look at that replay, that was a pretty weird play that Curtis Samuel got that touchdown on. So,
I mean, listen, like I've been saying all season, refereeing has been very inconsistent this season. But what
but
season isn't it inconsistent?
yeah, but so then I just go back to my seat, watch the rest of the game, and I mean, it was pretty exciting to say the least, a very close game. I think Washington's defense played decent enough to have a good shot. Offensively, made some Heineke made some decent throws, made some terrible throws. That interception was just god awful,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
and we let Minnesota off the hook. The
Mhm.
Commanders let Minnesota off the hook, and we had they had a 10-point lead and blew it. That's case and simple. And I
Mhm.
said this on Rhea's vlog. Shout out to Rhea Robinson rambling about Washington. Had me on his vlog. I said this game will be dependent on how well Kirk Cousins will be throwing the ball to Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, because they are two of their biggest weapons. And they abused the hell out of TJ Hawkinson, who just came over from Detroit. So
Mhm.
seeing that, and actually one of the people in our group was a Lions fan. And I mean, the Lions don't really come to town much. But anyways, I'm like, hey, a former Lion right there. And he's like, yes. And then the Lions won. And afterwards,
Yeah, I
I
was
was
gonna
like,
say, and then the Lions beat Aaron Rodgers. Like,
yeah. And I was like, hey, the Lions won. So, but abusing the heck out of TJ Hawkinson, which I wasn't really expecting, but they gave him a heavy load and he did really well for Minnesota. But it was
well, I mean, the
dependent.
beautiful thing about TJ Hawkinson is that it's not, he was already playing at a pretty decent level in Detroit. So coming to Minnesota, all it was is just at least learning the base layer of plays, right? And keeping his, like, I guess his playbook pretty simple for this game. And apparently they really like dove into work as soon as he signed the contract or whatever, as soon as the trade was official,
Yeah.
whatever it was. As soon as he got into the building, they immediately got to work. He immediately started studying film, play the playbook, learning all the plays and stuff. So he was ready to go.
I forgot one thing. I
Mhm.
have to show this audience. Carlos, we're improvising. Just let me step out for just a moment, but you're going to see what I have next to talk about with.
Well, why don't you play an ad and then go grab what you need to do, and then we'll continue from there.
Here. Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm glad you brought it up. Let's hear from our sponsor, PM Plus Reserves, because I totally forgot about this element, and then we'll continue talking. We'll be right back. For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. All right, so that was kind of off script, but I completely forgot one element that I was going to talk about during my fan experience, and that was
Mhm.
one running back by the name of Brian Robinson, who had
Oh yeah, I saw this. You posted this.
yeah,
That's right.
13 carries for 44 yards, no touchdowns. But I was down close field level talking to media and stuff, and I get a little toss up and everything. Ooh, you can't see this if you're listening on audio platforms, but it is one half of a practice glove. Excuse me. It is black and digicamo Nike,
It's the
obviously.
salute to service NFL glove. You're describing it too much. It's looks like the right hand glove from
Yeah.
one Brian Robinson. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, but look at this, all sticky. And afterwards, I actually put it on, and I was like, maybe I can catch a pass one handed. But that was another cool moment as well. So, that glove, the hat, the scarf, but it was my birthday. The Commanders couldn't come out on top.
At least they
I
gave you
will
an entertaining game, dude. At least it's not like they got blown out though.
a
And
very
then
entertaining
and for a
game, but
minute there, it really looked like Washington was gonna do it. And like you said, they let Minnesota off the hook.
yeah, they did. And Scott Turner has to go. He has to go. I mean,
I mean, I'm not gonna argue the point.
I'm not sure if you saw it, but there was one drive where they went 3 consecutive plays empty set shotgun. So,
Uh,
The pass
I didn't.
happy.
I didn't watch the game diligently and close enough to really notice it.
They were pass happy and predictable. But I will say
Mhm.
one thing: Tress Way punted the hell out of the football, and
As
he
he
looked
always
pretty
does.
good.
As he always
Yeah,
does.
I saw his spiral from my seat. I was like up and down. Oh my gosh, it looked nice. He was pinning people back there pretty good, and
Yeah.
the kick coverage stopped Minnesota for the most part. So
Mhm.
that was a positive, but our defense had some struggles in the game, but it pressured Kirk Cousins at times. And you know, and afterwards, even funnier, Ron Rivera, when asked about Taylor Heineke and his performance, it's like he said something along the lines of like it's always a roller coaster. I'm like, oh great.
It's a
So
better roller coaster than,
yeah,
The
but
Carson
still,
Wentz experience.
that will open the media up to say a lot of other stuff. Like I'm
Listen,
not.
again, kind of,
I
I checked Twitter a little bit too. I mean, it really seems like the fan base is more content with Heineke than they are with Wentz, because at least is Heineke's just more sure. He made, that was a boneheaded throw that he made when the interception and all that. It was a terrible throw, really, like kind of slipped out of his hands more than anything, it felt like. But like, he's he's a good game manager, and that's kind of what I think this team needs. Carson Wentz tries too hard to play hero ball and tries to be make the spectator. He tries to be the quarterbacks that are like that have a skill level way higher than his, and Heineke just does what he's good at. And every now and again, he is a gunslinger, so every now and again he'll make a boneheaded throw, but he's typically going to make the right decisions for the most part. And he's not going to be exciting but the other thing is his legs are a fantastic asset that Carson Wentz does not necessarily have. Or I think I would say that they probably have the same speed, but it feels like Heineke just knows how to move his feet a little better, be a little more elusive than Carson Wentz. I think Carson Wentz is just like a crazy leg dude who just kind of goes this way, that way, doesn't really know what to do. Where Heineke's like purposeful with his run, right? If he has to scramble out of the pocket. So for me, I think it's gotta be, you gotta stick with Heineke for the rest of the season. I think we've seen enough of the Carson Wentz show. It's not fun to watch. I mean, it's fun to watch, right? It's like a car wreck. You can't look away. But I think for the betterment of and the health of the Washington fan base that are still locked in, I think Heineke's the better option.
yeah, it's I don't know. It is a roller coaster for sure, but the Commanders let Minnesota off the hook with the 2017 Minnesota Vikings victory. I want to go off on a side note here because RG3 tweeted this after the game saying Minnesota is the least talked about 7-1 football team in the league because people are saying, is Minnesota legit or not? This team's looking pretty good.
I think it's because, again, can you really trust it, right? It's still Kirk Cousins. The teams that they've beaten, they've only beaten by one scores. They haven't won really spectacularly aside from the Packers game, right? I think like their past like few ever since like the Eagles loss, and that Eagles loss was really bad. Like it was really, really bad. And it's looking even better on the Eagles record, right? I think they're just not talked about because they're just not really, you know, you got other teams to talk about right now. You got what's going on in Buffalo. You got what's going on in Kansas City. You got what's going on in Dallas. What's going on in Philly. The disaster of Tampa Bay season so far, and yet they're somehow still in first place in the NFC South. There's just not really, they're just not really. Oh, and of course in their own division, you got the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers' complete disaster of a season thus far. So it's like there's just not really time to talk about Minnesota and their kind of boring wins.
Well, there's no competition there pretty much, as it says. Yeah, this could be a runaway for Minnesota.
Oh, I mean, they basically can win the division here in the next couple of weeks. You
Yeah.
know, like it's. I mean, I think it's done. I don't think Green Bay makes it. It would take a massive collapse for them, which I mean, it's not out of the question, right? But I don't see it happening. I think this team is good. Like I do. It'll be interesting to see what happens when they match up with the Cowboys in 2 weeks, because that's going to be a real test for them to see, like, okay, we can maybe chalk up that Eagles loss to it was early in the season. We were still trying to figure things out. We have TJ Hawkinson now. We feel like maybe he was the missing piece. Let's see what we can do against what I consider the best defense in the NFL in the Dallas Cowboys. Let's see what we can do against them, and we'll see what happens with the Dallas Cowboys offense, because of course we know there's rumors and there's whispers and rumors going around about a certain player. I'm not speaking. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything because it's Jerry Jones and we know what he does. But off of them, back onto the Minnesota Vikings. But yeah, no, I would agree with RG3. Like they are for sure the least talked about. What are they? 6-1, 7-1,
7-1,
7-1 team.
And if I am correct, I am just going to search this to confirm that, so I don't say anything incorrect here. But I believe regarding this Commanders Vikings game, I might not be able to find it here. Yeah, I cannot find it. I thought RG3 said something else, but I think I saw it somewhere else and not RG3 about the game, but I'm not sure exactly what it said. It escaped my memory, but other than that, for my birthday, I think it was a pretty fun experience. It was a competitive game, and that's about all I have. I mean, except the tailgating was fun. The atmosphere was decent. It's FedEx Field, and I mean, but it was a close game on the field, and it was a great way to spend the birthday. And it would have been a lot better if the Commanders won, but I was still happy to watch some pro football live. Any last thoughts on this game from you, Carlos?
No, I got nothing. I think we covered it pretty well.
Yeah. The Commanders have some work to do because next week, and we'll probably touch on it a little bit more, they're playing Philly on Monday night. And I remember said game in 2010 on Monday night at FedEx Field, quote unquote, called the Monday Night Massacre. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, listen, you're going to Philly this time, though, so it's not in FedEx.
Yeah,
but Monday Night Massacre was in FedEx.
Yeah, but we'll probably touch on that more. But when we return, we will talk about another exciting matchup that took place on Sunday Night Football. Stick right here with us, the Kirby on Sports podcast. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com. All right, Carlos. In 3, 2, 1. And the home
Of
of
the
the Chiefs.
Chiefs.
The Chiefs defeat the Tennessee Titans on Sunday Night Football in overtime, 20-17. It was apparently a close guarded secret on whether Tannehill was going to play or not. He ends up not playing. I mean, I guess Malik Willis seemed pretty much non-existent, only throwing for 80 yards. But I mean, I guess you can do that when you have Derrick Henry rushing for 115 yards
But
and 2
hold on.
touchdowns.
But can you listen? I'm about to go on a little rant here about Derrick Henry.
Okay.
And make no mistake, Derrick Henry is an absolute animal and a savage, right? Just an absolute beast. But did he really dominate this game? Is he really the dominant back that we think he is?
I wasn't saying that. I was just saying, I guess you can keep.
No. But I'm talking about just because it always seems like ever since that season where they made the run to the AFC Championship game, and of course they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. You're welcome. But obviously he went into beast mode that year. There was obviously the stiff arm and all that stuff. Everybody's always like, oh man, it's so hard to tackle Derrick Henry. He's built like a linebacker, but he's a running back. But yet when you tackle him low, he goes down immediately. And the only times he had major big long runs in this game, he went virtually untouched. I mean, defensive backs were bringing him down. Is he really still that same dominant running back he used to be? I don't know.
I watched those highlights. You have a point there, but
because when you really look at it, when you really look at his stats and you break it down quarter by quarter, he only made his impact in the second quarter. First quarter, he was pretty much contained. Second quarter, he blows up for 2 runs, which really give him the bulk of his numbers.
And there wasn't consistency after
and that. Then in the second half, the Titans did nothing offensively. They got 1 first down all second half.
I'm going to go on a stretch. I think it might have had to do with Willis. I just don't think he's ready.
But what does Willis have anything to do with that? Because if you're gonna, why is Derrick Henry not able to get more then? What does Willis have anything to do? I think what has happened with Tennessee is they got rid of AJ Brown, and they thought these receivers were going to be good enough. These receivers did absolutely nothing all game. None of them had receptions. All game. The only people that had receptions were, I think, the tight end and the running backs, right? No wide receiver had a single catch. Malik Willis put the ball in some good places sometimes, especially throwing downfield. Listen, Malik Willis has great arm talent. He can throw the ball as far as you can. He could throw it out of the stadium if he wanted to. The only problem is he's just not ready yet for the NFL level, right? He still doesn't know how to process defenses. I mean, my God, it was one play in overtime. It's a screen pass, and he doesn't throw it, and then he tries to scramble. He tries to do a scramble drill on that pass, and it's just an absolute disaster. You can't scramble on a screen pass because literally your linemen have left, so they're not going to be able to hold up the defensive line. They're going to be right there in your face, and he tried to do that. I'm just so surprised that they didn't switch up the offense for Malik Willis. It looked like they were still trying to run the Ryan Tannehill offense, which Ryan Tannehill, albeit I don't think is like a scary guy, he's at least a competent quarterback, right? A competent NFL quarterback who's going to be able to make throws, right? That Malik Willis just doesn't know how to make yet because he's not developed, right? I think he obviously he's raw talent. He has potential. But they have to develop him, but they didn't go to his strengths. Why didn't they run more stuff that they ran at Liberty, the RPO, which he was dominant in? Malik Willis can run, use his legs, use Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry at the end of the game is sitting out. So, like, what are we doing?
Yeah, the whole situation for them was all confusing because Yeah, because at least how I saw it, other than the 2 Derrick Henry scores, they were flat after that. It was like spike from Derrick Henry and bang.
Everything
And
happened in the second quarter for them.
yeah, and other than that, it just looked like a very close. I just can't put my finger on it. I mean, I'm just surprised the Chiefs kept it this close with them. In
It wasn't, but
how
okay, but because we're only talking about the offense. If we're talking about defensively, the Titans were stout. That was some of the that is the blueprint on how to try to contain the Kansas City Chiefs. You can't blitz Patrick Mahomes, of course, but if you have a defensive line that can really bring the pressure in alone and get to Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes got hit a lot in this game. I think it was something like 5 sacks on Patrick Mahomes in this game. It's the same thing that the Raiders did. If you just bring the pressure and then you have great coverage out, on the field, and you cover all these receivers, you're gonna do well against the Chiefs. The Raiders were able to do it. The Bills were able to do it, and so far, the Titans were able to do it. The only reason why the Kansas City Chiefs won this game is because Patrick Mahomes basically went. This was his Jordan moment. He said, "No, I'm not leaving the stadium until I'm not leaving Arrowhead without a win." And literally on that last drive, the only reason why the Kansas City Chiefs even moved the ball remotely was because of Patrick Mahomes' leg. He got that huge third down run. Then he ran in for the touchdown. And then after multiple penalties and retries on the 2-point conversion, he eventually just said, "Screw it, I'm taking it in myself," and scored. And then in overtime, he drove him down into field goal range. And then obviously the defense did what the defense did. The Kansas City defense also played its part in making Malik Willis's night hard. That's the first half. I feel like they did struggle, obviously, with the running game and with Malik Willis kind of running out of the pocket. But I'll tell you what, Spagnuolo is one of the best adjustment coaches in the set, like at halftime, and they made the right adjustments. And they played this game without Frank Clark too, who's suspended for this game, and is going to also be suspended for next game. And what the Chiefs really did, I mean, what's his name? Like Bolton, I mean, the middle linebacker, he was just a menace back there. And, Chris Jones eventually started, taking over the game. And that defensive line really stepped up. That defense made the right adjustments in the second half, really, and they completely shut down the Tennessee Titans offense in that second half. But you got to give props to that Titans defense. That Titans defense is tough, and it'll be very interesting to see how it goes on from here on out. And it'll be interesting to see what happens when Ryan Tannehill comes back, because obviously they can't go on with Malik Willis. Obviously, he's just not ready.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, this game was just a very interesting performance, but you texted in the group about how electrifying that Arrowhead Stadium atmosphere was, though, even on
I got to
TV.
make a comment on that again. They kept bringing up on the broadcast that the Arrowhead crowd was quiet, that didn't have. To me, it still sounded loud as hell. I don't understand what Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth were talking about. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they were talking about. To me, it sounded like the Chiefs fans were still in it. It didn't seem like they were out of it. And of course, they really came on towards the end of the game. But yeah, that place looks electrifying. And I'm truly hoping that we do make the pilgrimage next year when we go to our game next year.
Yeah, so the Chiefs and the Titans 20-17. Any last thoughts from you on this game, Carlos?
Nah, I mean, listen, we got a little look at what's his name? Kadarius Toney, I believe is how you say his name.
Correct.
Yeah, we got a little look at him. Obviously, he's not going to be the big impact player just yet, just because he's coming off a grade 2 hamstring injury. This is his first game back since week 2. A little patience with him. This guy's got a lot of potential. I watched some of his college tape. there's a reason why he was a first-round draft pick. And if he can just stay healthy and if he can really mesh in well with this Kansas City offense, he's going to be a big problem. He's going to be a very big problem for teams coming up. Buffalo, and we're going to talk about them in a little bit, here in the hurry up offense. Buffalo losing has really opened the door for Kansas City to really make the push for that 1 seed and to get home field advantage over the Buffalo Bills. And we gotta keep pushing now, because if the Bills slip up, now there's no margin for error. The Bills slip up, we take it. If we slip up, they take it. And I also think that this game really, once again, solidifies that Patrick Mahomes is still the guy, and that it's still not Josh Allen's time. He's still number 2, and Patrick Mahomes is still the one.
I think it's going to be interesting how things pan out in the next couple of weeks between the Chiefs and the Bills. And we'll touch on this later, but Josh Allen with a reported injury. So that's going to be interesting to follow along with as well. But the Chiefs over the Titans, 20-17. When we return, the Hurry Up Offense brought to you by Barrett, Pest, and Termite Services. We'll be right back.
Hey, sports fans. Thank you for listening to and supporting the Kirby on Sports podcast with founder and host Josh Kirby, along with lead contributor Dan Dembski. Like, subscribe, and give them a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcast from. My name is Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation. Our company helps leaders build engaged and productive teams. Exclusively for listeners of the Kirby on Sports podcast, you can take an opportunity to discover your primary communication style and learn more about effective communication with others. Text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free copy of the Working From Home Communication Assessment, where you'll learn your primary communication style, how to better communicate with others not like you, and tips on working remotely based on your personal communication style. 10 minutes, tons of resources. Learn about yourself and your team. Again, text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free assessment report today. I'm Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, where we help you and your team be more engaged and productive by understanding each other better. Back to you, Josh.
Mr. Martinez, it is time for the Hurry Up Offense. Ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. If you need pest control done, give my guys over at Barrett Pest and Termite Services a call today.
You may have heard the saying, it's not if your home will get termites, it's when. At Barrett Pest and Termite Services, we're doing our best to refute that saying one home at a time. Our thorough inspections and treatments are designed to keep your home or business termite-free. Termites cause $5 billion in damages every year. A preemptive inspection is one of the best ways to keep that from happening to you. Because once you see evidence of termites with the naked eye, you can be sure they've already been at work for some time. Put a stop to termites and the damage they do by calling Barrett Pest and Termite Services 540-340-3922. Barrett Pest and Termite Services 540-340-3922.
All right, Mr. Martinez, it is time. Let's start off with Thursday Night Football. Just a little bit of funny information. The Philadelphia Eagles were playing the Houston Texans in Houston, while the Philadelphia Phillies were playing the Houston Astros in Philly in the World Series. I just thought that was an interesting tidbit to share, but the Eagles
originally that's not how the schedule was supposed to be. It changed because of the rain delay early, right?
Oh, yes, that is correct.
Because originally that Thursday was supposed to be the off day, and that's why they were expecting a bigger turnout for that game. But then, of course, the rain delay changed the whole schedule, and at least that's what I heard.
Yeah, I remember, because there was rain that pushed a game back to the next day or something like that. So I remember that now. But besides the point, the Eagles improved to 8-0, defeating the struggling Texans 29-17. What did you see out of this one, Carlos?
I mean, I saw the Eagles, this was a risky game for them. It was kind of a trap game because a lot of people, were kind of writing it as, they're going to just stomp, the Houston Texans. And the Texans made it a game early, but eventually, the better team finally got it together. And I saw just more of the same. The Eagles listen, yes, their wins can be nitpicked, right? When they play the Cowboys, who did they play? Cooper Rush. When they played, they barely beat, the Detroit Lions. The list goes on and on, right? But at the end of the day, this team is good. They are good. It's just they have an easy schedule, right? And they haven't necessarily had the big test yet. The big test was supposed to be Green Bay later on in their schedule, but it doesn't look like that's going to be that. Right. So really, it's not looking like until they play the Giants, because they still have to play the Giants twice, or once they have to play Dallas, on, I think, Christmas Eve is their next big test. And the only possible way that they can, be stopped from having an undefeated season. But it's also possible that maybe they slip up. This is the NFL. We've seen crazier. This has just been a very weird and inconsistent season. I mean, the Bills just lost to the Jets. Who would have thought that? But yeah, I saw more of the same. The Eagles are good. They are. Anybody trying to make the claim that they're the Pittsburgh Steelers from like 2 years ago, when Pittsburgh Steelers went like 11-0 and then lost to your Washington football team.
Thank you.
Anybody trying to make that claim, it's not, because that was with the bones of, Ben Roethlisberger. And we all knew that that team wasn't good. This team is good. AJ Brown has taken this wide receiving core to another level. Jalen Hurts, who would have thought that I would say this, is actually put himself in a top 10 quarterback like ranking. I never thought he'd be that good, but he's doing a pretty good job. And honestly, I'm surprised his MVP odds are not higher.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll just end this by saying the Eagles are very good, and by the looks of the rest of their schedule, I wouldn't be surprised if they might not have a loss this season in the regular season.
I think they're going to drop 2 games, maybe, I think.
But it's still...
What 2 games? Obviously, I'm hoping one of them is to my Cowboys. I don't know where the other losses... I mean, that's like the only one that's like, okay, this is like where they could potentially lose, especially if we get, the man who's making the rounds of the news. If we get him, it might change it. It might change some things. And I think the Dallas Cowboys, as are right now, could beat the Philadelphia Eagles. But again, they're gonna be the number 1 seed. They're winning the East. Dallas is not going to be able to catch up, because you got to think Dallas might lose another game at some point, right? Because it's the Dallas Cowboys. They might get a little too cocky. I don't know. You just never know. They might lose this game. They might lose against the Vikings. You just don't know. I'm going on a tangent here, but yeah, the Eagles are good.
Yeah, but in a position where they're 8-0, they can afford to drop 1 or 2.
100%,
hurting them as much.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And again, I guess it just really depends on who they lose to, right?
Yeah.
If they lose to the Cowboys on Christmas Eve, it just depends on how they lost. Did they get blown out? Was it a competitive game and Dallas just edged it out? It just depends. But let's move on. We're sticking up Philly for too long.
Yep, absolutely. Close game here. The Chargers defeating the Falcons 20-17. Chargers are 5-3, but they still look shaky.
Herbert's not healthy. You can just tell he's still playing hurt. I just don't get it, man. Like, the Chargers were supposed to be that team, and yeah, they're 5-3, but like, do you really have a lot of faith in them? I don't. It'll be interesting what happens, because we just saw that the Chiefs-Chargers game got flexed to Sunday Night Football, so it'll be interesting to what happens in the rematch of that fantastic game that they had on that Thursday night in week 2.
Yeah, I don't really have much else, but yeah, you're right. It looks like Herbert's playing hurt, and I mean, the Falcons, We've seen them in a lot of close games this year. Not that it really matters, but still, we've seen them in some close games.
Yeah, I mean, I don't got much to say on the Falcons, to be completely honest with you.
The Falcons have a bunch of players that I haven't even heard of, so yeah, I don't know. Let's move on. The Dolphins and the Bears. This was a pretty close game.
It's an interesting
Ju-
game. Chase
Justin
Claypool's debut.
Fields. Oh yeah, absolutely, him too. But Justin Fields, I feel like he had a pretty decent game, throwing for 3 touchdowns and on the ground rushing for 178 yards and a touchdown as well. But
yeah, he's I mean, listen, that Bears team is not good yet. Getting Chase Claypool was a good move for them. But I will say Justin Fields had, despite having that blunder last week against Dallas where he didn't touch Micah Parsons, I mean, for the most part, Justin Fields has been electric. And I do have to pause. I want a lot of these commentators to kind of pump the brakes, and they're praising Justin Fields for his running ability, and they're talking as if like we've never seen anything like it. But yet I'm like, you guys have seen the guy in Baltimore run, right? Like Lamar Jackson still exists. Like he's a way more electrifying runner than Justin Fields. So, and that's not to say Justin Fields isn't a good runner. He's a fantastic runner, and he was tearing this Dolphins defense to pieces, and they made it a very competitive game. The Dolphins, they just, man, that offense is just so loaded. When you got Waddle and you got Tyreek Hill, it's like, how can you lose? And their best shot at winning is with Tua, and Tua has been very serviceable this year. He hasn't been lights out, but he's been the guy that they've had the most success with this season.
Yeah, he threw 302 yards, averaging 10.1 yards and 3 touchdowns.
When you got the weapons he does, how can you not do well?
I 100% agree with you. So the Dolphins over the Bears 35-32. The Bengals beating the Panthers 42-21.
Great rebound game. They finally realized, hey, we don't have Jamar Chase, but we do still have, some other good receivers, and we have Joe Mixon. And if we just run heavy on him, he's going to take us to the front. He had 4 touchdowns in the first half? Incredible. And for Carolina, I mean, PJ Walker, man, like you got benched for Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield comes in and looks actually pretty decent. So we'll see. I'm pretty sure that means Baker's probably got the job now back. So tough outing for PJ Walker. Just, going from almost having the game-winning touchdown last week against Atlanta, and now
sitting on the bench,
just getting benched because he was doing horrible. But great rebound for Cincinnati after that debacle on Monday night. Good for them.
Moving on, the Detroit Lions defeating the Green Bay Packers 15-9.
I'm actually kind of mad at Detroit for winning this game. I'm actually kind of mad.
Why?
Because now we might get angry Aaron Rodgers, and he might take it out on my Dallas Cowboys. And, as a Cowboy fan, we are very traumatized by Aaron Rodgers. And, I do expect, I mean, the Cowboys opened up as 4-point favorites, at Lambeau. Like, that's insane, but I don't want an angry and motivated Aaron Rodgers, coming out there and then finally deciding, hey, I'm going to get it together against this team. Like, I wish he would have beaten Detroit. That way he would go into Dallas, like, kind of a little feeling himself, but not to the point where he's like, oh, I'm going to take it out on Dallas. But we'll see. I mean, I have faith in my team. I think our defense is good. Obviously, I think our offense is coming together. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, in terms of this game, to be honest,
interceptions from Rodgers.
But when you watch the highlights, or if Green Bay was pretty much dominating this game. It was the mistakes at the end, because a lot of the interceptions came in the end zone. So that's really where they got stifled. And again, this is what happens when Aaron Rodgers doesn't trust any of his receivers. And again, the Devontae trade has not worked out for any team. To me, it didn't work out for Green Bay, and it hasn't worked out for Vegas.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. The Lions' 2 wins came against the Commanders and the Packers, and it's just funny how the Commanders beat the Packers. So slowly but surely, they're biting off kneecaps there in Detroit as the Lions defeat the Packers 15-9. A close game here. The Jags edged the Raiders 27-20. I mean, the Raiders.
Is the jury out on Josh McDaniels? Is he just not a good head coach?
I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. I honestly can't.
Because you would think this I mean, Darren Waller is like MIA. Like, is he even on the field? Does he even play? Like,
he's not listed now.
Like, he's MIA. You know, how did this team go from being a playoff team last year, retooling, has a great pass rush, has a great wide receiver, a decent quarterback, and yet can't win against the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I can't put my finger on it. I can't understand it. What if this is one and done for Josh McDaniels? Or
it is honestly very there's a few coaches it could be one and done this season, and it definitely could be one and done for Josh McDaniels unless he somehow turns it around and this team makes a fight for the playoffs. But at this point, I mean, I think they're done. But
or give him a good draft class, one draft class to work with or something, and see what comes out of that. But I can't really pinpoint it at this point. But the Raiders are just,
not good.
A good win for the a good one for the Jaguars. They really needed that. So, it's just crazy how bad the Raiders are looking. But on paper,
they should be competing for the West.
Yeah.
The whole West has just been pretty disappointing aside from the Chiefs.
We've talked about this numerous times.
That's what I'm saying. We've talked about this ad nauseum.
Yeah.
So,
all right, let's move on. The Patriots over the Colts 26-3. I got nothing except for Frank Reich got fired, and Jeff Saturday is coming back to Indy.
I don't understand that hire at all. Jeff Saturday has literally no experience coaching aside from coaching a small high school football team, and somehow he's going to be the interim head coach. Whatever, we'll see how it goes.
In the quarterbacks coach or something is calling the plays now.
It's just ridiculous at this point. I don't know what to make of it. This is a nightmare. Indianapolis, the curse of Andrew Luck lingers. Really, truly, what this franchise just makes no sense, and it pisses me off even more because they somehow beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and I just don't. Move on.
Yeah, Frank Reich can at least say, "Hey, you fired me, but we beat the Kansas City Chiefs."
Yeah, just not great.
Did you watch that video from back in the day when Peyton Manning got pissed at Jeff Saturday for
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
You don't call the plays. They brought that back, and I saw it earlier today. And Jeff Saturday's now
he doesn't call the plays.
And I don't know what to make of that either, but we'll have to see come this Sunday how Jeff Saturday looks as an interim head coach. Moving on, the Bills falling to the Jets. The Jets are now 6-3 on the season. Josh Allen throwing 2 interceptions. It looks like he got injured. This could affect the Bills. They're 6-2 as it stands right now, but I mean, this could be a wake-up call that the Bills can't overlook opponents like the Jets, but this win for the Jets could also solidify, hey, this Jets team might actually be the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this Jets defense is fantastic. Sauce Gardner is just an absolute It's crazy that he's a rookie, but yet he's such a complete corner, and he was like that in college. There's just not much to say. Josh Allen had a terrible game. But I'm not going to hold it against him per se because, Patrick Mahomes has had silly games as well. So you can't hold it against Josh Allen if he has a silly game here and there. He's still, he's still 1B in the quarterback rankings. Hopefully that injury is nothing serious. Hopefully it's something that's not going to really affect him too much. He's going to be able to play through it, and it's not going to get worse, because it would really truly suck that if Josh Allen has to miss time, and that's the reason why the Bills don't really become the team that we expect them to be, right? It would just really, really suck, because, that fan base just need just one time. Just let him have a good run one time, But yeah, no, I mean, the Jets, one game out from the lead. I mean, that's incredible. Who would have thought the Jets were going to be 6-3? Not me. I would not have put my money on that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from here on out, how they close out the season. But hey, the NFC East and the AFC East are looking like the best divisions in football right now.
All right. Here's the next one. Carlos, to this point, if I were to tell you, before recording this podcast back at the beginning of the year, up until this point, that the Seahawks would be 6-3, would you believe me?
No, absolutely not.
They're 6-3 after a 10-point win over the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, the opponent, but still, Geno Smith and the Seahawks have a winning record.
If you would have told me that you could make the case for Geno Smith to be MVP of the league, I would not have believed you. I truly did not see this coming. This is a pleasant surprise, to be completely honest. It actually makes me kind of happy seeing Geno Smith have this success, because the guy has been just jumping around from team to team for his whole career, never really given a great opportunity. Nobody believed in them this year. And look what he's doing. I mean, yeah, he had the pick 6 in this game against the Cardinals, but he really, really rebounded well from it and put out a great performance, and they beat the Arizona Cardinals, who once again have proven my theory that Kyler Murray is not a good quarterback, did not deserve that contract that he got, and Cliff Kingsbury has failed his way up into an NFL coaching job and should be fired immediately, because how do you not win more with a team that's got DeAndre Hopkins? And it's not like this team is lacking for talent. There's talent everywhere. I think Kyler Murray could be a serviceable quarterback if he had the right coach around him. But Cliff Kingsbury is just not good, is not a good coach. And it baffles me that he got a NFL head coaching gig based off what they thought that he was going to be the next Sean McVay. I mean, the dude couldn't win with Patrick Mahomes in college. He had Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback and couldn't win with him. Insane. That's my rant on the Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm going to clip that, so every time the Cardinals lose, we just replay that, so you don't have to repeat it over and over and over again.
Fair enough.
All right, moving on. Tom Brady and the Bucs, they finally won a game, and Tom Brady
was a snooze fest. I literally did not pay attention. I had the game on, but I did not pay attention.
Hey, Tom Brady composed a game-winning drive.
To be honest, I didn't even care. Tony Romo tried so hard to sell this game that it was good. I didn't care. I didn't even watch the last drive happen. I heard it happening. I didn't even care to look up from my phone.
Did you care that Tom Brady surpassed 100,000 passing yards?
Fantastic. He's the GOAT. I expect him to do GOAT things. I'm just so desensitized right now with when Tom Brady accomplished. I mean, fantastic accomplishment. Obviously, like I said, he's the GOAT, greatest quarterback of all time. I just don't care. The Bucs aren't the Bucs that they used to be, and the Rams just absolutely stink. They suck. They should. I don't understand how they lost this game, but they lost this game. But so whatever. Move on. I don't want to talk about this game anymore.
The Ravens over the Saints, 27-13. We miss you, Dan, but the Ravens won.
Hey, it was a fantastic performance. Listen. They made some good moves. To shore up that defense. Patrick Queen was kind of being a liability. They got the guy from Chicago. I can't remember his name.
Smith.
Yeah, Roquan Smith. Deshaun Jackson got injured in this game.
I didn't see the game, so I couldn't tell you.
I'm pretty sure he pulled his hamstring, if I remember correctly.
Well, that's what happens when you're removed from the league and get signed at 35 years old.
Sure, but also the Ravens are again kind of getting hit by the injury because they just lost Bateman for the season because he's going to get season-ending foot surgery.
Seems like every year the Ravens are dealing with critical injuries at critical times.
It just feels like it's more their receivers, right? They can't ever find that consistent receiver for Lamar Jackson. And I think Bateman has all the talent to be a big name receiver, but he just cannot stay healthy. And again, he's going to miss another season. Like, you've barely played since coming out of college, to be completely honest. So, listen, they look good. The Ravens look good against the Saints. It is the Saints. It's not the same Saints from, years prior, but, to go into the Superdome and win, fantastic. So yeah, good for the Ravens. They're in prime position to really make a run at this.
And that concludes the Hurry Up Offense, as always brought to you each and every week by Barrett, Pest, and Termite Services. I'm Josh Kirby. That's the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez. We'll be back to wrap things up right after this.
Hey there, this is Mark Francis of Icon Real Estate. If you have any real estate needs in the Winchester surrounding area, including West Virginia, give me a call. I've got extensive experience, been in the business for almost 20 years, and would love to help you out. Track me down at Icon Real Estate, iconsells.com, or even give me a call, 540-247-1527. Again, Icon Sells, ICONSELLS.com, and I would love to chat with you and help you out. Give me a call.
All right, Carlos, wrapping things up. Week 10 is upon us. I'm sure you're looking out for the Cowboys-Packers matchup, a historic rivalry to date in the Ice Bowl back when Bart Starr and Tom Landry were coaching, and legends back in the NFL days in a freezing cold Lambeau Field. Not sure what the temperature might be, but still a very historic rivalry between these two teams.
Yeah, that's cool and all. Who cares? I gotta start with this. Last week I told you what was I looking out for the most, and it was Crown Jewel, WWE Crown Jewel, Saturday noon. Fantastic pay-per-view time. Had the rest of the day to myself. Saw one Roman Reigns take on the YouTuber Logan Paul, and my boy Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the head of the table, retained the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship and beat Logan Paul, who looked fantastic in that match. But not only that, it was just a great pay-per-view overall. I was very pleased with that. And then, of course, the Chiefs won. It was a fantastic sports weekend for me, I will say. But yeah, for this week, though, obviously I'm looking forward to the Cowboys-Packers game. Hopefully Dallas gets the win and, caps off Mike McCarthy's homecoming to Green Bay with a win. And we can finally put the Aaron Rodgers, the final nail in Aaron Rodgers' coffin. Hopefully we can do that. Aside from that, I mean, I can't really think of any big matchups, really. I mean, the Chiefs are playing. Who are the Chiefs playing this week?
The Chiefs are playing. Who are the Jaguars?
You see, I'm not psyched for that game. Of course, I'll check it out, but
I mean, if you want, you can watch a.
Oh, what am I doing? What am I looking out for this week? There's a reason why I am wearing this jersey today. Why I'm wearing my United States jersey and not my Kansas City Chiefs jersey. There's a reason. Tomorrow, Wednesday, November 9th, the United States of America is announcing our World Cup roster for our team in 2 weeks. So we will find out which players are going to Qatar and which players are not. Obviously, we have a feeling of certain players who are going: Christian Pulisic, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie. The list goes on and on. There's certain players, but there's some fringe players that I'm very excited to see make the team, hopefully. And yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to this week.
Only thing that football fans might be looking out forward to, I'm not sure if I'll even watch it, a maybe historic day for the league. I mean, indeed, but you might not see it that way, Carlos. But the Seahawks are playing the Buccaneers in Munich, Germany.
Oh, I'll check it out.
Yeah. What I mean, Munich, Germany, it's different than London, but
It's
still
a new market.
We'll have to see how these fans react, I guess. Or
my dude, listen. If you watch soccer like I do, and you see Bayern Munich fans, you know that's a passionate city. They love that team.
Well, let's see
And
how
from
they
what
like
happened.
from
What happened when they announced the game? I mean, tickets sold out immediately. You know, they love football over there, and a lot of them wish there would be more, I guess, more games played over there. I mean, they're trying to expand the market. They think Munich is the next big move because they've pretty much done what they can in London, So it'll be interesting what happens in Munich. I'm very fascinated to see what they do there.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see, but that's about it. About all the time we have on this edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. As always, a big, huge thanks to our sponsors, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, and Barrett Pest and Termite Services. Make sure you check us out on all streaming platforms and all social media platforms, and www.kirbyonsports.com. Carlos, it's been a blast. We'll catch you again soon, my friend.
Yep.
Until the next time you hear us or see us, always remember to create greatness. And we say so long and peace out.